Mizzah, it's the show about Mizzah Tee. It's the show about Mizzah Tee. I'm not going to bend to the will of or succumb to the mainstream gamers groupthink mentality. I'm not going to do that. I understand if I did do that, I'd probably have 50,000 subscribers tomorrow. But that's not me. It's not true to who I am. And what I mean is by the mainstream groupthink mentality is that as a Nintendo fan, apparently as a Nintendo fan, when you profess to be a Nintendo fan, that you have a bias towards or a preference for Nintendo. Your opinions on gaming outside sometimes inside of Nintendo, but especially outside of Nintendo, when you talk about Sony and Microsoft, your opinions on gaming are immediately disqualified. That is the mainstream groupthink. That is the mainstream way you're supposed to approach video games in the industry and video game thinking. Is that you can't have an opinion that's valid as a Nintendo fan. And I say fuck that. If anything, you should respect my opinion more than these dudes. I came from, and I've said it before, I gamed on the Atari 2600. I played in the arcade as a very young kid when the original fad of the arcades was still popping. I played on the Donkey Kong arcade machine. I'm not talking about the one that barely worked that sat in the back of Chuck E. Cheese. I'm talking about when arcades were popping still. I was there. I played ColecoVision. I played, like I said, the Atari 2600, the Atari 7800 later on. I owned an Atari 5200. It was my first console that was actually bought for me. Obviously, I played the NES, but it was kind of a shared console with my cousins, and so we all kind of played on that together. I played the Sega Master System when it was actually new to the market. When it was on the market, I played that. Played the Rocky game, played Rambo on it, played Alex Kidd. I was there. Played the Sega Genesis. I actually got a Sega Genesis before I got a Super Nintendo. Obviously, it came out in '89, so that was my first 16-bit console, the Sega Genesis. Got a Super Nintendo. Sega CD, Sega 32X. Got an Atari Jaguar. PlayStation 1, N64, Sega Saturn. Started playing PC in mid-90s. Sega Dreamcast. GameCube, obviously, Xbox OG, everything up until now. Still, Xbox One, PS4, powerful PC, got those. My opinion should be more valid. For some reason, because my preference is a Nintendo console, I'm automatically disqualified when I talk about Sony or Microsoft or PC or anything else. And when I praise my preference, I'm a fanboy. I can roll with that. That doesn't bother me. But that's the groupthink mentality. All my experience doesn't matter because my preference is Nintendo. Like Nintendo is some red-headed stepchild of gaming. They single-handedly saved the video game market in North America. The biggest market. The market that's the most influential to this day. So when I have reverence for them, there's a reason for that. Analog sticks. They brought shoulder buttons, and they brought the first true 3D console to the market. They continuously have the most polished first-party games, the most polished games in the industry, continually. So why am I invalid again? I think one of the main reasons that people don't understand that Nintendo is different. It's in their DNA. It's not, oh, I'm trying to come up with some kind of gimmick. It's in their DNA to do that. And the sooner you mainstream gamers understand that, the less butthurt you'll be about them when they're not conforming to what you want. You have plenty of conformist options out there. Let Nintendo be Nintendo. It's funny that only when you make arguments for Nintendo, it's called defending. You notice that? If you make an argument for Nintendo, it's called defending. Make an argument against one of the mainstream consoles and you're called a fanboy. Make an argument for Sony or Microsoft or hype their products, you're called an unbiased hardcore gamer. Isn't that strange? But I'm not here to walk on eggshells or kowtow to the mainstream gaming industry groupthink. To hell with that. There are no unbiased gamers. People get called unbiased because their bias isn't Nintendo. That's the only time you're unbiased. I'm not gonna walk on eggshells in order to prove some false sense of no bias. I prefer Nintendo. And that doesn't automatically mean I'm wrong when I talk about them. You may not like what I say because of your mainstream gaming industry groupthink, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. I may not harp on the negatives. I will discuss them. It doesn't make me wrong about the positives. I own, like I said, a lot of consoles. I've played on a lot of consoles. I own over 15 consoles currently, going way back, including the Xbox One and PS4, like I said. And like I said, I have a powerful PC as well. And I didn't buy them to prove that I am unbiased. I'm a gamer. If you don't believe me about biases, human psychology and sociology, two of my favorite classes in college, and I was taught from those classes that everybody has a bias. Now, you may not have a bias for a specific company, but you have a bias towards a type of game. Maybe you like the more quote-unquote photorealistic or realistic type video games. And so anytime you see a game that has cartoon characters or colorful graphics, you think that's kiddie. That is a bias. It is a opinion. It is not a fact that you feel that way. It is your opinion. It is your bias that you can't play a game that has colorful characters or cartoon characters or colorful worlds. So every gamer, every person on the planet has a bias, whether you agree with that, whether you realize it or not. It's just science. Just because I may say things that you don't agree with and I talk about my Nintendo preference doesn't mean I'm wrong. Just because you don't agree with what I'm saying doesn't mean I'm wrong. And this commentary has of course come on because of my last few videos. Some of them got a lot of views and a lot of viewpoints in the comment section. I would think coming in that I'm a Nintendo fan and I'm gonna approach my my videos from that perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. And you're not gonna tell me that there's something wrong with that. I'm not a conformist. I'm not gonna conform to what you believe. I'm gonna tell you what I believe. If you can't roll with that, if you can't hashtag deal with that, then you don't have to be here. You really don't have to be here. And about the Switch, I'll just say, if you don't care about, the fantastic Nintendo first-party games, if you don't care about exclusive third-party games that the system is surely going to get and that it's already getting, if you don't care about the portability aspect, if you don't care about motion gameplay and its innovative potential, if you don't care about LAN, local multiplayer and the party aspect, if you don't care about Virtual Console, if you don't care about Pokemon, Monster Hunter, etc., then the Switch is not for you. And that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you to buy a Switch. I may argue what I think are stupid knocks against it, uncredible, silly knocks against, or negatives against it. I may argue that, but I'm not here to convince you to do anything. It's pointless trying to shoehorn the Switch or Nintendo in with the what I call the HDer twins. If you're a third-party multi-plat focused gamer, you may not find much value in the Switch. And again, that's fine. I mean, we don't know what third-party the Switch is going to get. You know, if it's going to be a lot, a little bit, or somewhere in between. I think it's going to be somewhere in between. If it comes out that it's not as much as you would like, and that is your preference, third-party multiplats, again, that's a preference, that's a bias. If that is your preference, then you may not find a lot of value in the Switch, and that's fine. I'm not gonna try to convince you otherwise. You have to realize that maybe, and I mean maybe, you're unbiased when it comes to what company console you play on. But when you say you're unbiased and you don't like Nintendo games, I mean, that's just strange. That is the epitome of bias, because Nintendo doesn't make one kind of game. They make a lot of different kinds of games. And to cut yourself off from them just because it says Nintendo in front of it, I don't understand. I don't understand that. And I don't know, maybe somebody can help me understand it at some point. Yeah, I mean, that's it for this video. Went on longer than I wanted it to. But, you know, bottom line is I'm a Nintendo fan, and that doesn't disqualify me. Even though you might feel it does. If anything, it makes me more qualified to talk about games, because been there, been here for a while, played on almost everything. That's it for this one, fools, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you all for watching Mizzah Tee Show.